endorsements here. There are the side issues that they try to pull us in. Yesterday, when we had Senator Gorbachev, Senator Harris, and others, first want to talk about 2020. And my next speaker is certainly mentioned on every list. But he is one that I can say, whether 2020 or any other year was covered, would stand on the issues that matter to people. I'm concerned about 2018, where we have votes being purged in Georgia, and where we have people being overlooked all over this country. I'm concerned we have a president that will stand up and in no uncertain terms insult 3 black women reporters and act like we don't understand what his disposition is. And that is our concern. We get to 20 when we get to 20. But where I went to public schools in Brooklyn, but 18 came before 20. We are in Washington to deal with, we won the House, we've got influence in the Senate, now what is it that we are going to get done? And I think that when you look at this, brother, in fact, one of the women I'm talking about just walked in here, Michelle Sanders, one of the victims of Trumpism. She's from NPR. She's going to really talk about me bad for embarrassing nobody. But whether you talk about what he did as a student organizer, as a city council, as the mayor of Newark, and now as the U.S. Senator, he has been on the front line, he's been productive. And when the president tweeted, you could always tell, my mother told me when I was a kid, that she was from Alabama, I was from Brooklyn. She said, you don't know anything about a farm. He said, she said, but always remember that if you throw a brick in a pile of hogs, the one that hollers is the one you hit. When you hit somebody hollering, it's because they've been hit. So when I saw the president tweeting that old Newark was a failure under Cory Booker, I said, oh, Cory must have hit him now. He's tweeting and hollering. Let me give you the man that made the president swerve during Kavanaugh. Senator.
All right.
Community that is struggling, not just because of who is president today. It is struggling because of decades and decades of policy that came from Washington, D.C. that redlined our communities, disinvested in our communities, put forth overtly bigoted laws that ground down communities like ours to the detriment not just of those communities, but the ideas of our country. I get worried when we take a moment like this and make it all about who is president. Okay. This is more than who's president. In fact, this is a president who wants us to make it all about him.
Right.
Because when he is leading the news, when he is leading the headlines, when everybody's talking about him, he's sucking all the oxygen there and distracting it from the issue that not just affect communities of color, but affect all communities in our country. This is not about him. It is about us, the United States of America, the one nation under God. And we're not going to let people slice and divide us against each other. We need to talk about the issue. Now, I love the National Action Network. As a response to Trump, it started as a response to injustice. And it has been at this for many years because everybody in this room who loves this country, and I believe this, if this country hasn't broken your heart, you don't love her enough. No. You don't love her enough. Because there is injustice in our nation. that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than poor and innocent. We are dissatisfied because we live in a nation right now that pays teachers so little that they have to get extra jobs just to make ends meet. We are dissatisfied in this country because on blocks like mine, where a young man was murdered with an assault weapon, we are dissatisfied because we're not even doing the common sense things to make our communities safer that 90% of Americans agree we should do. We're dissatisfied because we have a nation right now where young brothers like Jamil Roberson, a security officer who subdued an assailant, was shot and killed, like how many other of our young men and women. We're dissatisfied because there are millions of Americans, black and white and Latino, from all backgrounds, who work full-time jobs every single day, but still are below the poverty line. Dissatisfied in a nation that professes to favor freedom, but 1 out of every 3 incarcerated women on the planet Earth is right here in the United States of America. And over 80% of those women are survivors of sexual assault. Talk about the school-to-prison pipeline, which is real, but the sexual assault to prison pipeline is also real. Everything I just mentioned, and haven't even mentioned like massive voter suppression that we're seeing in the state of Georgia. Everything I mentioned was going on before this president was elected. And so what do we stand for? Why are we here? Not to talk about who we're against, but what we're for.
Yeah.
This is a country that is not perfect. Our very founding, these incredible principles and ideals, those documents that elevated the greatest of American values, were also saturated with residues of bigotry and hate. Native Americans in our Declaration of Independence are referred to as savages. Blacks are fractions of human beings, women not mentioned at all. And so the great history of America isn't the absence of hate, isn't the absence of bigotry, isn't the absence of oppression. Those who've been with us from the start. The great history of America is not folk here in Washington, but ordinary Americans making an extraordinary commitment to the cause of our country, fighting against those ills and fighting against those evils to make real on the promise of the country for more and more people. That's the story of America. And it didn't come from Washington. It came from organizers like you who came to Washington. It wasn't Strom Thurmond that woke up one day and said, you know what? It's about time those Negro people have some civil rights. No, it was black and brown folk, straight and gay folk, Catholic and Jewish folk, all kind of folks who made a coalition of urgency, who fought for the justice that we enjoy. And the problem right now, I'm sorry, as much as we want to make it about one individual in the White House, King said it more eloquently. What we have to repent for in this day and age is not just the vitriolic words and violent actions of the bad people, but the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. We have the people in this country we need to drive the changes that we have to demand. The question is, too many people are sitting on the sidelines. Too many people think democracy is a spectator sport. All the great changes of our history, from the suffrage movement to the labor movement, all the great changes have been made because the consciousness of our country has awoken and claimed the rightful ideals that we profess when we pledge allegiance to that flag and say that we're going to be a nation of liberty and justice, not for some, for all. And that's where we are right now in America. The very American dream hangs in the balance yet again. This is a moral moment in our country. And everybody here has to make the decision. Will we begin to dilute our ideals as a nation as powerful interests get more and more powerful, and struggling Americans, working Americans, lose their opportunities, that the foundation of this country becomes quicksand, pulling people down into poverty, into hopelessness, into despair, as rates of opioid addiction go up, rates of suicide go up from farmers to people in communities. We are seeing signs that we are losing the very idea of the American dream. Well, I believe in the American dream, and I believe it's worth fighting for. And so I'm going to end with what you all already do. one destiny. We need each other. And so I just end with a poem, because sometimes you gotta go back to art. We know this from the movement, the songs and the poetry. Sustained us, awoken the moral imagination of the country to what's possible. I still believe that we are a nation headed to the promised land. I still believe that we are a nation that can be a light to other nations again. I still believe that there's nothing that's wrong with America that can't be solved by what's right with America. And so I call on the words of Langston Hughes, who basically said, swear the oath, not with your words, but with your deeds. He said, oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, but yet must be the land where everyone is free. The poor man, the Indian, the Negro, me. And who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the boundary, whose plow in the rain must make our mighty dream live again. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was American to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Right now, this nation needs every single one of us. This nation needs national action. This nation needs people to swear that oath, not with their lips, not with their words, but with their commitment to country, because there are too many things going wrong, and don't try to make them about one individual. We've got to make them about the cause of our country, with all of us united in struggle, can make real on the words of our ancestors. And this can be a nation, one under God, where everyone has abundant pathways to life, liberty, and a whole lot of happiness. Thank you.
Voter suppression is the state of North Carolina, and one that we have been in and out of federal court dealing with the ways they tried to undermine voters there. One that has stood up on that, as well as serves on the Committee on Education and Workforce, the Agriculture Committee, Small Business Committee, and was the founder of the first ever bipartisan HBCU caucus from the 12th District of North Carolina.
District in North Carolina, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and to say from all of my people there how grateful we are for Dr. Sharpton and this network for the wonderful work that you continue to do. I do want to thank and recognize all of our hosts and our guests and my colleagues as well from the not only the Legislative Black Caucus but from the Congress. You know, we were reminded a little while ago that the Congressional Black Caucus, rightfully so, considered and talked about and described as the conscience of the Congress.
Well, I'm proud to be here today at the invitation of the National Action Network, the conscience of our nation. You know, we have a lot to discuss and a lot to get prepared for. We saw the results last Tuesday. That blue wave came in and knocked the hell out of that red wall. And for the first time, you know, since I've been in Washington, the Democratic Party in Congress will now be able to lead an agenda that promotes education as the key tool to achieving social economic mobility. We now have not only an opportunity, but a responsibility to increase access to a quality education, ensuring that neither race nor gender, nor religion, nor ethnicity, or sexual orientation, or citizenship, criminal record, nor circumstances of birth act as an impediment. You are not your circumstance. You know, one of my favorite quotes by the great W.E.B. Du Bois, who said of all of the civil rights for which the world has struggled and fought for more than 500 years, the right to learn is undoubtedly the most fundamental. And I love that quote because it first and foremost puts education in the context of a civil rights agenda. You know, it lays out simple and plain that education is one of those rights that must be protected and promoted by lawmakers, by advocates such as you, by this network, by administrators, and anyone who believes in true equality. And I truly believe in this principle because I've seen it personal and up close. The kind of impact of a first-class education has had on my life. I came from humble beginnings. My mom, who raised me, was not an educated woman formally. She did domestic work. She cleaned other folks' houses so I wouldn't have to, but she was a smart woman, and she knew how important education would be for me and how far it would take me as far as my dreams would take. And even when I wasn't prepared for the rigors of a college curriculum, my school in North Carolina A&T State University, invested in me and molded me and shaped me into what they knew I could become. That is the true power of education. It's an investment that our society makes in its citizenry. And as Benjamin Franklin said, it's an investment that pays the best interest. It's also an investment that we in government play a role in guaranteeing is available and affordable. And over the course of the 115th Congress, we've seen a negligent unwillingness to invest in our children and our public schools. Instead, we've seen an agenda to roll back our progress and to place a quality education more and more out of reach. You know, we saw a Higher Education Act reauthorization proposal by the Republican majority, which eliminated many of the grant and loan programs that our students depend on. And we saw a single-minded focus to provide for private school vouchers as a fix to our K-12 education system, and even a willingness to take funding used to educate low-income students and allow school districts to buy guns. You know, this was not an agenda dedicated to seeing education be the ticket out of poverty into the middle class. But January, it dawns a brand new day. You know, we will once again have a Congress that will pay our teachers what they're worth. We will once again have a Congress who will be concerned about not only education, but seriously about the infrastructure and the needs of many of our older schools. A Congress that keeps our students safe while they're in the classroom. A Congress that keeps alive the promise that a quality education is given to every child. And so I want to close, by saying that after teaching 40 years at Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, people continue to ask me, Reverend Sharpton, do I miss teaching? And I tell them, well, I miss my students. But I have an opportunity to teach here in the Congress each and every day. Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know and what we need to know. So I want to close to repeat a quote that I believe drives home the point of what we're fighting for. And it says that slavery is one of the worst forms of violence, as in the denial of education. And education is key to liberating children from slavery. And now we know throughout our shared history that this was literally true. But it also relates to a slavery that we still fight for today more than ever. It's a slavery of poverty. Poverty is one of our society's greatest ills. In a nation of so much, it's a shame to have so many with so little. And it's even more of a shame for some of our lawmakers to literally blame those in poverty for their circumstance. You are not your circumstance. Poverty dims hope, it hinders progress, and it destroys dreams. But however we know that this cycle of despair, we can shine a ray of light and a ray of hope and that promise of a quality education. Education has the ability to make progress possible. It has the ability to make no dream seem too big. saying pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Well, education is that bootstrap. Even in poverty, education can provide hope. And no one, I repeat, no one has the right to take that hope away from any child. So National Action Network, members of Congress, to all of the allies across the spectrum, let's pledge ourselves to fulfilling our shared mission. Let's make education not a privilege of the wealthy, but a right of the whole. Because anything less is a betrayal of our shared values, and it's a betrayal of our future. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
That's great. Congresswoman Alma Adams. She's a fighter for consumers, fighter against sexual assault, fighter for health care, first woman to represent New York's 12th District, first woman to chair the Joint Economic Committee, senior member of both House Financial Services and the ranking member of the Joint Economic Committee. Let us welcome a woman that I know has stood and fought for civil rights, whether it was the 2nd Avenue subway or whether it was census. Congresswoman from New York, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney.
Thank you, Reverend Al. And we are so proud to have Reverend Al Sharpton in New York, and he always speaks right, always fights for social justice. And what I like about him, he gets the job done. He doesn't just talk about it, he moves it off the table into the ground and makes it happen. So I want to thank him for everything he does. And when we get back to Washington, where we're now, and we have the majority, we're going to save that health care. We're going to get the minimum wage up to $15. We're going to fight for infrastructure and integrity in government. But I want to interpret it down to what it means to Harlem, the district he lives in and represents. We have built the 2nd Avenue subway up to 96th Street. It now has to go up to 125th Street. So that should be a priority of all of us to make sure that the 2nd Avenue provides the quality of life, the jobs, the infrastructure that Harlem so justly deserves and needs. So let's all join hands and support him in pushing this and making it happen. Now, when we talk about Shirley Chisholm, I had the great honor of knowing her and working with her. When I worked for Manfred Orenstein, he challenged really then the president with Kennedy and went against Carter, and we won. So we went to the 1980 Democratic Convention, and she was the co-chair with Manfred Orenstein. I was a staff member for that. So I had the opportunity to be inspired by her. She was the first black woman to run for president. Actually, she was the first woman who was elected to run for president. And just last week, along with Yvette Clarke and Hakeem Jeffries, and you should know that Hakeem Jeffries from New York is running for one of the top positions in the Democratic Party, which is caucus chairman. So you know, any members of Congress, ask them to vote for him. I'm supporting him, and we hope he wins. But we introduced a bill to give to Shirley Chisholm the highest award that this Congress can give to anyone, and that is the Congressional Gold Medal. And she was an inspiration to me, and there's also an effort to name a battleship after her. I think that's very appropriate, don't you think? Let's have a battleship named after Shirley. But she was a great advocate for the Equal Rights Amendment, and she was part of the reason why it passed Congress in 1972. They worked for ratification. They never achieved it. They got 35 votes. Then recently, Nevada ratified it. Illinois ratified it. The next state is going to be Virginia. And I just want to share with you that last weekend, I joined the women members of the state legislature on a bus for the ERA running around Virginia. And what's interesting, all three of the major leaders of this initiative in Virginia, which will mean so much to so many if we can get it through, are all African American. And you should really have them on your show. They are dynamic, they are strong, and they are bringing the message of equality that Shirley gave us. We stand on her work. We should finish her work and pass and ratify this Equal Rights Amendment. But when you talk about social justice, there is one thing. It sounds boring, it sounds unglamorous, but it is critical to social justice in this country, and that is getting an accurate count in the 2020 census. It is one of the few responsibilities that are in our Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, that everybody's got to be counted. Now, let me tell you why that's important. That's important to our democracy. If you're not counted, you're not represented. And it's the census numbers that determine how many members of Congress you have, how many members of the state legislature you have. And when you draw those districts that many people on the other side of the aisle try to gerrymander and draw in a way that you don't get a Democratic majority, it's based on numbers. So getting an accurate count is absolutely critical to our democracy, and it's also critical because $800 million a year is divided up across this country based on census numbers. So it's important to the services that we get in our neighborhoods, and I'd say more dramatic and more important, it's the representation that ends up representing you in Congress. So it's absolutely critical. Now, this current administration, I would say, is working for an undercount. One of the first things they did is they added a question that the census professionals say that it will result in an undercount. And that is, are you a citizen of the United States? Well, a lot of people don't like this question, and they're not going to answer it. So that's going to be an undercount. So I have a bill in to take that question off. And we have filed suit over it. It's going to the Supreme Court. New York is leading that, and I led the amicus brief along with my sisters here that were up here with us to really get this off the census of the counts there. So I like to see results, and I know he gets results. So I'm going to ask him to join me in some hearings I'm having in New York City on how to get everybody counted, how we can work with the mayor's office and others to make sure that we get the representation and the funding that we so justly deserve. So it's going to be a hard fight, but we've got to do it, and every effort must be made to fight their thinly veiled attempts to sabotage the census and result in an undercount. Our Constitution requires it. Our taxpayers deserve it. Our democracy depends on it. And with your help, we will fight back against this president and the Republicans and ensure a fair, free, and functional democracy for all Americans. And it starts with getting an accurate count in the United States Census. Help us achieve that. It's part of social justice. Thank you for allowing me to speak and be part of this social justice meeting today. Thank you. Thank you.
Carol Maloney. Before we go to lunch, our cleanup speaker is someone who has always been the cleanup person in this country. Every time we're in Washington, she's been there. She called me and said her flight was getting in late yesterday. She was going to come today. And she didn't know she was going to be the one to send us out of here as we go visit and follow up on the legislation we've heard. You talking about a battleship? For Shirley, she is a battleship in Texas. Long before we had Beto O'Rourke, we had us a battler. And that's the Congresswoman from Houston, the one and only Sheila Jackson Lee.
Radio fame and be the very best Al Sharpton that you can be. I'm asking you to let me be the very best Sheila Jackson Lee that I can be. Let's take a moment to craft my presentation around the legislative agenda that is crucial that you embed as you go out, but then as you go back home and as you continue to hold us accountable in the 116th Congress. First of all, let me pay tribute and acknowledge those who have suffered the direct response. Let me acknowledge April and Yamita. And when I do that, those young women, I honor the women and men who have gone on either in our ancestral slave history or during Reconstruction that did not last, or the early days of Jim Crow and the Haynes Group. It is in tribute and recognition that so many died so that young women that I've just named can be in the highest places of the land, which would include the press office of the White House. That is the People's House as well, built by free slaves. I want them to know that I am committed as a member of the Judiciary Committee to ensure that there is freedom of the press so that you can speak and you can speak. And whether or not Reverend Sharpton says in his position, utilizing the press, he also is protected. And if we don't realize the nuances that come about when someone is able to denounce you as you are practicing under the First Amendment, I can assure you that those of us in Judiciary, House and Senate recognize the cruciality of ensuring that the Constitution and the rule of law is protected. They are protected by the rule of law. And though they are tough, there is no reason for me to be silent on my dismay and distaste for the back and forth of rejecting their intelligent questions, not stupid questions. So I give you that assignment. You are the arbiters and the carriers of the Constitution. Never let what has happened to us over this period ever deny us to be able to carry that Constitution and carry it as it belongs to us. We're in there. The 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, First Amendment. We are in there. 6th Amendment, the right to a trial by jury of your peers. So that is your first assignment, that those who represent you, state, local, and federal, are adhering to the rule of law. And what happens when we are here complaining about actions between law enforcement and community, you can be assured the rule of law was violated. The rule of law was violated when a security officer was shot. You see, we want to say a lot of different things, and we can say it. We know that there's racial profiling, but the rule of law, that means the person who shot that individual was not abiding by the rule of law. They were not in fear of their life. They did not bother to at least assess the situation. And so, as a member of the Judiciary Committee, that is our responsibility, to have oversight on why these are happening and to correct them. That's how you hold us accountable. So I want to make sure that we do that. Then, I want to be able to say that the Mueller investigation must go forward. I think most of you have heard of Mr. Mueller, but in the time frame that he has received this appointment as head of this investigation, you have not heard from him. That is the appropriate role that Mr. Mueller is supposed to adhere to. If you go into history books, you probably didn't hear a lot from Leon Jaworski. You'd have to look and see who was that. You might have heard of Barbara Jordan and Charlie Rango, not only because he represented you, but he was on the committee, 1974 impeachment. Those are the persons who speak, but the investigators do their work. And so to adhere to the rule of law, you need to be saying in offices, I know that you're supporting the completion of the Mueller report. That is crucial for this Congress. That is what the blue wave is. And we must clarify what the blue wave is. The blue wave was the American people who rejected being diminished. They rejected the idea that because that's what we're moving toward. $1 trillion plus for infrastructure. That's an important number to realize as well. But in the course of your visiting, that rule of law is crucial. Now let me get to some of the specifics, and I will leave you because I know you've got to do your important work. Do you not? I do want to say to you that we are blessed in the Congressional Black Caucus to have elected at least 6 new CBC members, many of whom represent majority districts, meaning they are districts that are mostly Caucasian, Texas Anglo. We're proud of that. Because what we've always said is that the Congressional Black Caucus is the conscience, but we are representing America. Don't diminish us. Our constituents are a wide array of individuals, and we seek to find common ground to represent them in the appropriate manner. It does not mean because I am ancestrally connected to slaves that I cannot represent people from all backgrounds. I think you have represented on that. Remember, we have 2020. We don't know who's going to wind up running. But we must again say, it's all right to have another one. Say that with me. It's all right to have another one. You know what I'm saying? It's all right to have another one. But we will work for the best, for the presidency of the United States. And so you keep that going as he's got it right. So let me give you these 3 points and let you know. Voting rights, you have got to continue to insist, and I won't call the bill names because you've got that, but continue to insist, restore Section 5. Once you do that, you get all the bills. Restore Section 5, restore Section 5, because we would not have had Georgia, and the purging would not have occurred, because we had no armor. We had no armor. Because Section 5 requires a pre-clearance. And so when Kip decided to weed out, to dismantle, to insult, to eliminate your birthright by purging you off of a role of which you were on. And you know, in the faith community, is your name written there? That's important to us. And so that would not have happened if we had Section 5, which is pre-clearance, which lawyers would have gone in, and I can assure you, the Justice Department, no matter who's in charge, could not have affirmed the removal of 50,000 plus people in Georgia. You know those votes. Is that not correct? You know those votes. That's number 1. Number 2, Florida did it. We will hold hearings, and I'd like to do it on judiciary. It's to restore federally the rights of ex-felons to vote. We just did it in Florida. That's a good sign. That means that we can have hearings, and you can be supportive to be able. We'll get facts. Let me be very clear. We're fact-based. We're legislators. That anyone who's listening, they're talking. Let it be very clear. Hearings for people to come and testify on whether or not there is danger or whether or not there is empowerment. That's how we do our work. Let it be very clear. So the restoration of rights. Is that all right? Then I want to reform the juvenile justice system. You all have been mighty about that. You know, when I start doing this, people say, well, you know, this state's got it. You don't need to do it this state. We are the bully pulpit. I met Caleb's mother. Yes, I think you all know who I'm talking about. That was in Rikers Island. A young man that lost his life because of solitary confinement. We introduced the legislation. Yes. And we want to eliminate, if anybody's even thinking about putting a juvenile in solitary confinement, we want to eliminate. So that is federal legislation. Eliminate solitary confinement. We want to ban the box for juveniles so that they are not wedded to what happened as a young person. That means ban the box means you don't have to say you were arrested. You're trying to go to college. You're going to vocational. You don't have to do that. And then lastly, to find alternative places for juveniles to go, other than a place like Rikers or a federal system. Now let me be clear. We know there are situations that involve violence in juveniles. We are recognizing that. And we will have a response to how you do that with one population versus another. I don't want anybody to hear us and say, you see what they're up there talking about? And so let me quickly go on. It is shameful that I am worshiping in my synagogue or worshiping in Mother and Mary. We're in a prayer service in Kentucky, but the door was locked. That I might be subjected to not only hatred, but guns. I'm not here to take your guns away. You might be hunters. You might be doing it for sport. I'm here to protect the Second Amendment. But to realistically deal with the question of massive gun violence in this nation, including those innocent young people shot in California. We have got to be able to come together, and the numbers, the polling numbers, say that they are ready for us to be smart about guns and about automatics and bump stocks. So listen out for us. You can say rule of law and ask the question, do you want this bloodshed to continue? And help us bring up the 70% and 65% who are supporting across the nation dealing with this gun violence. Let me come to a close. We're now looking at prison reform. I know that you've heard that, but we have been coming out of President Obama's administration. Many of you remember how he commuted a number of people. That was a miracle. He did it because we could not get the sentencing reduction legislation that we wanted passed, and he just sat there. Now, he didn't do it without the process. He had a team of lawyers, and they were signing it to change lives. We want to, in this coming Congress, and I need you just to keep saying over and over again, we may have something buzzing right now, but let me just keep you focused on criminal justice reform will include a continuation of prison reform and sentencing reduction. That those who are on mandatory minimums and were in for 20, 30, 40 years are nonviolent drug offenses need to come under a revised system that is not a pardon or you have to wait for a long process. You had a process to come out because of the excessiveness of your sin. You remember the crack cocaine where we weren't treating it as a disease, we were just locking them up. We've got to get families back together. Don't you think so? Families back together. Let me say this last word on the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which impacts all of us. Because we made it people. Men are listening to me. We made it people. That we want to protect homes, we want to protect people. And so the Violence Against Women Act, if you've been abused in your home, we want you to be protected. We're not looking to look at any group versus another. We're protecting Native American women, who you may not know. You can perpetrate something there and run off, and they have no jurisdiction on you. Run off of the reservation. Whoa. How sad. Immigrant women, you could be a Haitian and just come to town, or like my heritage, come from Jamaica, West Indies, and you are not protected. Come from South and Central America, the continent of Africa, you're not protected. And so we wanted to be those who dignify all people. They're in the boundaries of the United States. So help us pass 6545, the Violence Against Women Act. But more importantly, let me just cite these numbers. We would increase spending on the Violence Against Women Act to $100 million. Rape prevention, we give you another $150 million. Creating hope through outreach, options, services, and education for children and youth. Choose, we give you another $25 million. Grants to combat violent crimes on campus, $16 million. Saving money, reducing tragedies through prevention, the SMART, $45 million. I say this because we don't apply for these grants. This is money that you could apply for in your community. Your churches and 501c3s, National Action Network can apply for these kind of funding. Housing protection for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking so they don't get thrown out of their apartment. That would be $20 million. You could do a housing program, grant for National Resource Center on workforce responses, $2 million. And law enforcement getting the DNA kit, those monies would be plussed up. We're serious legislators here, but you are serious people. And so I'm standing before serious people to let you know that we expect to be held accountable, but we need to work two and two together to make sure that we can pass legislation that has an overwhelming impact on your lives. You voted, and we should now be in place to ensure that we protect health care and fight against any elimination that insurance would not cover pre-existing conditions. Medicaid, Social Security, and but it is important when others think it should not be passed. An infrastructure bill that will ensure that if you flood in Puerto Rico and Houston, you're treated the same, and places beyond. If you need transportation, we give it to you. If you want a criminal justice system that dignifies you and law enforcement, of which many of you have relatives who are law enforcement persons, we want to do that. With the Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity Bill, giving funding for professionalizing these departments. There are 18,000 across the nation, and what we see when a brother loses his life, racial profiling, is that it goes to the crux of training. And so we're willing to extend the hand and olive branch and say, we want to give you police department funding to work with the community and to deal with professionalizing and training. What did I say? I mean, we are professional legislators. Only because you have made us so, not for anything that we've done on our own. I leave you simply with the fact that guns are going to have to be addressed, because I believe in stopping the bleeding and saving lives. I'm not afraid of doing what is the impossible. Voting rights has been perceived as the impossible. I'm not afraid of doing what is the impossible. Protecting women and men has been perceived as being impossible. I'm not afraid of doing the impossible. And giving dignity to those who come as immigrants to this land has been perceived as the impossible and demonized. And I believe that when we are serious professional legislators working with an organization, the National Action Network, who comes to this place to be as citizens, living and walking amongst the buildings of which our ancestors built, standing on hollow ground, that we are serious Americans looking to do what is good for all of America. And if we do what is good for all of America, we will stand in this bright sun. I said I was closing, but I had to give you this one bill, and I had to give it to you. I had to give it to you after I said that about we're one America. We had a bill that has been introduced over the years. H.R. 40. There's a young man that stopped me about it. And so I want to say that I am proud to take up that bill now. It is a bill that addresses the word reparations.
All right.
People have failed to hear what we're saying. They immediately begin to say that we're on the non-professional side of the legislature. But let me explain, and I would not put the Reverend on the spot, but I would love to hold a hearing in New York on H.R. 40. H.R. 40 is a commission. A commission. Do we need facts?
Yeah.
Do we need to understand what happened in slavery and the aftermath? What was the economic engine that was invested by all of us and our ancestors, no matter whether you came from different places, you wound up here now? It is a historical effort to be able to work through many of the questions that have been raised. I believe that America will be a better land when all of us who come from different places, whether you're the Polish who are trying to understand your history, whether you are people who came because of fleeing the Holocaust, whether or not you have fled the murderous conditions of South and Central America, or whether or not you have fled oppression and have come from warring communities in the Mideast and Syria, sometimes on the continent, you need to come, and in Europe during World War I and II, we need to understand our history. And so I leave you with the idea that no one should shame anyone on the basis of wanting to ask the question of how we can be better in this nation. For this nation is looked upon as that shining nation on the hill. And you must hold us accountable in this hollow place where we are entrusted to pass laws that will make America better. You are obviously my bosses across the nation, and my commitment to you is that if you allow me to be Sheila Jackson Lee, we will in fact do the job of the American people, regardless of their region, regardless of their race and ethnicity and religion, regardless of their opposition or support. We will do what is best for America. Thank you all.
stop at the front desk in the lobby. You heard a lot today as you did yesterday. Now let's go and do the business and make it happen. And that is why we're here. Let me say also, I want to do something special here in the Senate office building. And that is, for many years now, we have been blessed to have one that has been faithful and loyal to building the brand of this organization. And today is her birthday, Rachel Nordlinger. And we want, right here in the halls of the Senate, Congresswoman, to wish Rachel a happy birthday. Stand up, Rachel.